Welcome back, and joining us on the show now is Peter McGuire of Exim Australia. Peter, hi, welcome. I want to start with the crude oil prices, where we have a couple of things happening here. One is, of course, the Iraq statements talking about production output cuts and whether or not they continue to align with the OPEC for that matter. And the other really is about the overall demand, because we've seen gasoline and distillate stocks rise in US. The Chinese numbers are still on the uneven side. So demand and within OPEC, how are you looking at both of these?
Well, good afternoon, Manisha. I think it's certainly hit the market and we've taken a little bit of a breather. I think also you're looking at, a wind back as far as price. You've got Brent sitting at 82, 83, WTI at 78 and change. There's probably a little bit more softness to the downside. I'm understanding the situation, as you mentioned, as far as Iraq and what the situation will be there. They're saying they're going to have to wait and see where they move as far as OPEC. And what the absolute consumption is seems to be a little bit weaker, but I wouldn't be surprised for that to ramp up a little bit over summer.
How are you also reading various reports, and as of now, clearly source-based, that OPEC from now on will not publish a monthly report? It would be OPEC and allies, the OPEC Plus, that is, who would come out with a monthly report.
Exactly, and that's going to be a little bit more confusing to the market. And we always were sitting on that number to say, well, what was the actual consideration to supply, where was production, what's going on, across that whole template. But now it's a broader report. And I think it's probably just the change in the times. I've just gone on to OPEC. I don't see any meetings coming up as far as, that you can actually go to Vienna any short term. So I've just got to sit here and wait and see how it all rolls over the next couple of weeks.
Peter, what's your own sense on what kind of supplies are we looking at for 2024 now, and what is the demand estimates now? Because until now, it's been the best that we've seen in the first 4 months of this year have been around 101, 102 million barrels per day. There are reports that it could reach up to 103 plus kind of levels also. But what's your sense?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised because quite simply, after COVID, everything seems to be ramping back up as far as consumption, Manisha. Strong numbers coming out as far as demand for China and across Asia and naturally in India. So I think that I won't be surprised, maybe a 102.5 to maybe close to 103 by the end of the year. If you're looking at the long-term horizons where over the next, say, 10 years, it's going to be just dramatic up to about 116, 118 million barrels a day. But yeah, in the short term, probably 103 is very achievable. If it doesn't knock it out in 24, it certainly will in 25.
How are you looking at the prices from here on? Because we seem to be hitting that resistance at 85, 86 for some time now.
Yeah. I think there was a war premium built into it. That was a consideration, Manisha, that's probably been stripped out. If something was to develop, as far as geopolitical, then you'd naturally ramp it back up and ramp it up quickly. So we're just sitting here, it's consolidating at these prices, but we all know one thing. When you study these markets, they don't stay in a tight range for long. Something will happen and something will push it higher. And I wouldn't be surprised in the short to medium term over summer to see higher prices than what they are at the moment.
All right. So you're not betting at prices reaching below 80 for Brent. You believe that 90 perhaps could come in yet again?
I think so. Well, look, it might touch 79, Manisha, for Brent. I'm not considering that it's going to be, 75. I think that would be really a washout. I just don't see that happening. And I think from the upside, if you're talking about if it was a geopolitical shock, then 90 is very achievable very quickly. But overall, I think from a demand side, they still want higher prices, and I won't be surprised to take a 90 out sometime over this summer period.
Okay, all right, Manisha as well as Peter. Thanks very much for joining in and taking us through the commodity space and what you're tracking there. Well, on that note, we need to wrap up on Halftime Report. Business Lunch will take all of the action ahead. Stay tuned.